Hello, and you are listening to the Book Was Better podcast, the podcast where we talk about the book of the film. I'm Luke.
I'm Courtney.
And this week we're talking about Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Hey you, put down the popcorn and turn on the light. It's gonna be alright, my friend. In the end, take my hand and trust me, the book was better.
Cowabunga, totally radical. The Silver Surfer surfing through space, Courtney.
Yes.
Isn't this
That's generally what Silver Surfers do.
absolutely exciting? This is just a wonderful topical thing to jump straight back into after the little hiatus of the show.
Yes, I'm very looking forward to talking about my, favourite characters, least favourite film franchise.
Yeah, I'm also in that way. Like, I really love the Kirby, Stanley, Fantastic Four of the 60s. I'm a big fan of that. I think there is merit with these characters. I think there are really great, fun adventure stories to be told. Hasn't happened yet in a film, though.
Nope.
And this one kind of snuffles around it like a pig, but it never quite finds the truffle.
Nope.
And I think what struck me about this film that was kind of interesting as well is tonally, it's actually almost there in terms of the family dynamic and the kind of fun breeziness of it all.
Yeah, you've given me a few of those original Stanley, Jack Kirby omnibuses.
Yes.
Is that the plural of omnibus?
Why not? Let's say
Omnibusiuses.
Omnibi. I'm Omnibi curious.
Oh my. Yeah, I am really impressed with them. I didn't think I would enjoy them that much, but I really love them.
They pack a lot of story in.
So much.
And there are certainly elements of them that have leaked into the DNA of this film. The issue is that Tim Story directs it with all the flair of an episode of Dawson's Creek or something. When you see the guy in the rubber thing costume walking around the airport at the beginning in his Letterman jacket, it looks like shit.
Yep.
And it never has that sense of wonder, except maybe when the Silver Surfer comes in.
Yeah, and that's why reading this novelization was such an interesting experience, because somewhere in the script there was the right intention. It just never came across on screen.
So shall we dive into this thing? And then we can talk about all sorts of bullshit along the way. We can talk about all our catch-up bullshit at the end. But yes, it's written by Daniel Joseph, which is odd. Because Daniel Joseph, there's not a lot of information about him. And at the very back of the book, it says straight out that Daniel Joseph is a pseudonym for a notable writer and editor who has worked in various aspects of the public industry for more than 15 years. He currently resides in Los Angeles. Seems strange to me that you would use a pseudonym and then call out the fact that it's a pseudonym.
Yeah.
So there's something a little bit sneaky and perhaps even sinister working under the scenes there. Now, this is the sequel to the Fantastic Four. The first one, the novelization, was by Peter David, who has written a lot of comics. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is Peter David again.
Well, Peter David is kind of my novelization idol. Whenever we have a writing challenge, I seem to be very similar to him in tone, so I was seeing a little bit of familiarity there.
Peter David likes to give us sort of unnecessary Wikipedia-like backstory about things. He is usually kind of snarky about the scenarios and dialogue, especially if it's characters that he has prior history with or additional knowledge about. He also tends to be quite clued into, obviously, the comic backstories, but also the controversies that the fans have about certain films, the things that people were worried about. That said, this isn't massively Peter David-y. Maybe that's why he's made it a pseudonym, but there's a couple of clues in there. So,
well, if it is Peter David, I would really love to have seen what the original story was that he turned out. Maybe they told him to tone it down a bit.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a little bit of friction which made him decide, or that he didn't want to be named, or was it just the fact that the first movie was so maligned and this was a sequel to something that people really didn't give a shit about. I don't know, but we're going to answer that and others and maybe not answer some other things. I don't know what's going to happen. There's only 2 of us, not quite 4.
Yeah.
But we'll double our efforts and see what we can do.
All right, then. You know what? It's interesting that the Rise of the Silver Surfer seems to be trying to improve upon the first one. It seems to be addressing, we did this wrong and that wrong. And then the most recent Fantastic Four is just, fuck, I guess we don't want to lose the license, so go make something.
I don't know. I've got a theory about that new Fantastic Four
What happened?
Having read so much about it now. I believe that he did have an interesting enough concept. Like, it was something kind of unique. It had the body horror elements.
Which
because
I loved.
you see seeds of an interesting... We're talking about the Josh Trank movie from this year now. You see seeds of interesting ideas in there. But my belief is that it got diluted in 2 ways. One, fans were hearing about certain aspects of it, like Doom's origin and him being a blogger, things like that, and were very unhappy. So they pulled back from those aspects. But the other thing, from what I can gather, is this vision that he had. It's not that there's a version of the film out there. The fact is, this vision only existed on paper. I don't think Josh Trank, had the ability to actually deliver it.
Yeah.
So it was getting behind. It was difficult. It was a very troubled production. Those elements, this ideal Fantastic Four that he had in his head, never actually made it to film. And so at the last minute, other people came on board and cobbled together some missing sequences to make kind of a film and get it out in that release window. I think that's what happened.
Yeah. And what else has he done?
Chronicle.
Oh, right.
And that's it. And he probably won't be doing anything now. He got fired from Star Wars, of course, because of Fantastic Four. So
awkward.
We'll see what happens. But we're talking about the Chris Evans, Jessica Alba,
Ewan Griffith.
And Michael Chiklis is the Thing. Yeah. Who, you know what, everybody always says, he's not bad as the Thing. He's a pretty good Thing. That's pretty great casting. Watching it again, I think he's shit. And I think his voice sounds really strained and,
like that, yeah.
And he just looks awkward. No, I'm not a fan.
I don't know how I feel, because the whole thing is shit. Not the Thing, but the whole film is shit. So it's like, well, that wasn't so bad.
Well, certainly there would be a director out there that could have, photographed him better and gotten a better performance and made him look more epic. But I don't know who that is. I always would love to have seen, and it's interesting that he ended up doing Ant-Man instead, I would like to see a Peyton Reed Fantastic Four set in the 60s. I think he's my director. He did that down with love. He's done 60s stuff before.
Yeah.
I think he's got a really fun energy and a really nice, humorous, light touch.
Yeah.
And a lot of innovation. I think he's the guy that really should be doing Fantastic Four. And I think we're pretty much agreed that we want to see Bill Hader and Alison Brie as Mr. and Mrs. Fantastic. Yep. That would be our ideal.
And Zac Efron as the Human Torch.
I like Zac Efron as the Human Torch, because I know people go, but he's kind of a douche. That's what you need. Yeah. You need any good-looking, young hothead who is kind of endearing but is also a douche.
Yeah, and we're not quite sure who we want as the Thing. I originally thought Will Ferrell, but then you suggested...
I think Will Ferrell just brings too much to it. I know the fans would not like it at all.
John C. Reilly is my current favourite.
He's a bit old. Although I don't love the actor, I think it's probably more likely with that grouping to be someone like Bobby Cannavale.
Yeah, you showed me him, and he doesn't have the ever-loving blue eyes, though.
No, but he's like a big Brooklyn...
but he is definitely...
kind of guy, and... I think, the Thing needs to be surprising. Billy Elliot was fine as the Thing, really. Once he transformed.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be somebody
He's better
necessarily.
as Tintin, let's be honest.
Well, yeah. I just watched him as well in Snowpiercer.
Oh, shit, he's in that too, yeah.
Yeah, look, we're going to go all over the shop. But
anyway.
it's been a little while since we've done this, and we've been owing people a podcast, so it might be a little bit longer. But this is something. Fantastic Four is a property that we've been spending a lot of time talking about and sort of riffing on and thinking about the possibilities for it. So, yeah. But we're here to read a shitty book, so let's do that. And I'm sure there'll be lots of thoughts along the way. So, the beginning. The planet sat silently, waiting, rotating in an inky black space turning slowly, even at 1,000 miles per hour, revealing its skin of deep blues, interrupted only by small patches of greens and browns.
For millennia, the planet existed silently, orbiting near other equally silent planets. Their only companions, the distant stars, small specks of silver and dust that cast an inconsistent glow, bathing the endless expanse of deep black with uneven light.
In the soundless sea of space, the planet's majesty took on an unshakable feeling of solitude, even loneliness.
Until now.
In the far corner of the heavens, a crack appeared.
At first it seemed no larger than a wayward spark, an inconsequential shard of silver leaking out from the broken faraway star.
We can tell already from this prose, this is a writer, this is an adult novelization, This isn't the junior novelization. This is nearly 300 pages of this thing that we had to go through. It's also got that sort of touch of padding already for me, that kind of pretentious redundancy that happens, like solitude, even loneliness. And
it's a little bit Stan Lee, although I've been reading those old comics and he does have those kind of philosophical moments, especially in Silver Surfer.
And this is Earth he's talking about as well.
Yes.
Is Earth lonely? Does Earth look like a barren solitude? No,
I know, what a desolate wasteland.
Earth is a bustling hive of activity. It's got lights everywhere. It's there's parties. There's people doing crazy stuff all the time. I think, don't speak for us, the people of Earth, about how we feel as a planet. Look,
that's making assumptions.
You want a lonely planet? Pluto.
Pluto's not a planet.
Yeah,
that's how lonely it is. We don't even
that's
qualify
how miserable
as part of the team.
Pluto is right now.
Kicked off the team.
So various phenomenon are occurring around the globe. And again, we're reminded that this is an overwritten adult novelization because there are some Japanese fishermen who are affected by all this. And they appear to be living in feudal Japan, I noticed.
Yeah.
They're very traditional, noble characters with their bamboo poles out on the water. And you think about this, you think, well, what's the important thing about this scene? Like, why is it in the film? And the important thing is that weird cosmic shit is going down.
Yeah, that's it.
But according to the novelizationist here, the important thing is the fear of water had always haunted him, especially during his younger years, when he was eager to prove himself as a brave provider for his village. Some nights back then, he'd wake up bathed in sweat from the familiar nightmare, the tossing wave, the rocking and shaking of the boat, etc., etc., etc. This goes on for about 4 pages, after which, of course, we will never see or hear of this character again, despite knowing all these intimate details about his childhood, his fears, his dreams, his hopes, his aspirations.
It's as bad as the guy in Ghostbusters 2, the museum security guard, I think it was.
Well, funny you mention Ghostbusters 2, because for me, doing this with a scene is like if Venkman was able to paint the kitten on Vigo the Carpathian. It has nothing to do with the tone and the meaning, and because you look at that painting of this big scary guy and you understand it. You go, yep, I know what this is about. This is what I'm supposed to learn from this picture.
Yes.
You paint a kitten in it. Now I'm like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
You know, it changes the meaning. And I think that's what happens here. Like, I should be focused on weird cosmic shit. I shouldn't be worried about this feudal Japanese fisherman and his fear of the water. So, forget about him. Then he goes to Latveria?
Yeah, he also goes to Latveria.
Latveria.
Yes, where Doom, of course, resides. But not in a castle, but a mansion for some reason. It is referred to as a mansion over and over again. It's castle.
Doom lives where he pleases.
Not exactly how I imagined he sounded, but okay. Keep that for your Thing impression, though. But, not only is it a mansion, it's a mansion he has inherited, so he wasn't even a gypsy. I mean, this is just... Wait, no, I'm going to stay on target. There's plenty to complain about.
Yeah, well, look, I'm pretty loose with the... I don't expect movies to follow the comic origins, because the comic origins are really silly, for the most part. But what I do want to see is a Doom that lives up to his inspiration and has that kind of Vader-like grandeur and is someone who is this big, crazy, powerful dictator. I don't care if he was a a gypsy or...
Oh, see, to me, why that origin is important, or at least coming from poverty, is that he should be a character he's self-made. You know, the same thing with Lex Luthor. He wasn't just given, well, except in Smallville, but originally Kingpin, Lex Luthor, Doctor Doom, these are guys who had nothing, now they have everything. Started from the bottom, now he's on top.
All right, you convinced me. I'm sold.
Yeah.
You're right. Gypsy it up.
I'm serious about Doctor Doom, guys.
All right, but look, we're not there yet.
Okay.
We're going to skip to chapter 1, and we're going to meet our 4.
All right, yeah.
Let's find out how fantastic these 4 are. And they're boarding a commercial airliner, basically like a bunch of chumps who clearly have not capitalized on their fame. And I'm going to give the writer credit here. We get a couple of pages into the mind of Sue, who feels really uncomfortable with the public attention, but then sort of realizes that she feels kind of ungrateful for feeling that way. And I thought this was good, at least, because I don't think you need to delve into the mind and the backstory of the fisherman. But here are our 4 main characters. This is a 300-page novelization of a pretty loose, sketchy film. You may as well delve in and try and get some sort of depth and motivation from these characters.
Yeah.
And bless you, Daniel Josephs. You might not be willing to show your face, raise your hand, but you have done the work here.
Yeah, Sue is actually our point of view character for the most part, and she's actually pretty good, pretty well written, all things considered.
Sue felt a small weight in her chest. I'd like to feel 2 weights on her chest. Ow! She rubbed her hands together, staring at the slim band of silver around her finger, trying to dismiss her cranky, cynical thoughts. You notice silver's a motif all throughout the film.
Oh my god, so
the
many times.
Yeah.
Take a shot every time they mention silver.
She knew these weren't the musings of someone grateful for her life and upcoming wedding, or as someone even the least bit fantastic. It happened to her sometimes when the crush of it all became a bit too much, when she'd retreat inside herself. I'd like to retreat inside herself. Ow! Only to get a break from the attention and the spotlight.
Also, they later say a frown tarnished her beautiful face, because, of course, women are only pretty when they smile, and they shouldn't be allowed to express any other emotion.
That's why it has to be the 60s, because Reed would lecture her on that. He'd be like, "Oh, Sue, you foolish female, you look so much prettier when you smile." And then there's a news story about the wedding, and where was this scene in the film? I like this.
The news camera focused on a particularly ardent young couple, the man weighing about twice that of the woman next to him. He was wearing a blue t-shirt with a large number 4 on the chest, and grabbed his young girlfriend for a particularly long, deep kiss right on camera. When he came up for air, he said, "My girlfriend and I are getting married on the same day. I even dyed my temples, right, sweetie?" He turned his large round face to either side, showing the camera his grey temples. The young girl, with lipstick now smeared over her lips, was wearing a blue wedding dress, also emblazoned with the number 4.
Yes, very cool. Hopefully that means she's had 4 weddings, or is carrying a litter of 4 children. I'm not quite sure.
I want to know what the first 3 weddings were interrupted by. I hope it was Mole Man every single time, like he's a serial wedding crasher.
Any objections, and the big drill comes up through the floor and all the moloids start going nuts.
I want to see him in a movie.
Alright, now, what the fuck here? We meet Rockman, Ben the Thing Grimm, and I don't even know. Ben put his hands together, palms touching, and raised them to a height just above the heads of the children. He moved his hands together slowly, grinding them, the sound of falling rocks filling the air. Small pebbles fell into a pile before the smiling children. "Cool," said the boy, before joining his friends in picking up their bounty. I mean, what's next? Like, Sue clipped off a couple of her perfectly manicured fingernails and added them to the pile? Reed plucked out a couple of graying pubes? Johnny did his best to hook up a loogie? Like, does the Thing regenerate rock? Like, can he shave off a bit of himself, give it to kids, and then... Or is he going to run out? Is he going to love too much? Like, he's going to visit all these kids in hospital and he's going to give, like, a little piece of them himself to them?
I never considered that, yeah. Like...
And then there'll be nothing left?
How does that work? Does he must regenerate then?
Just chipping away at him? I don't understand
Is it like Sandman? You know, like you just blast off an arm and then it'll just reconstruct?
Well, we've never seen that. I don't remember seeing that in the comics. So why is he now, like, giving his kids these pebbles? Unless he, like, excretes pebbles and rocks and things.
Right. Oh, it just raises too many questions.
It does. Ben Grimm's large rocky figure sat uncomfortably in the narrow seat. A flight attendant approached him, a sour look on her face. The attendant glanced at the passengers around Ben. A man practically sitting in the aisle and a woman crushed against the small window. They did not kick him off the plane, though, which means he's not as big as Kevin Smith.
I don't think he is.
No.
At least not
Not in this film. Meanwhile, though, in that small European country, which we established was...
Latveria?
Yes. A certain metal statue is being freed from its mask.
The welder let out another long breath and steadied his hands. He raised the torch to the faceplate again. He had no idea why anyone would want to take off the face of a statue, but he took the job, no questions asked. Crazy Americans, he thought to himself, take everything from this country and changing it to their liking.
Damn straight, have truer words been spoken by an unimportant NPC in a book.
And the faceplate dated back generations, yet it looked modern in its shadowed malevolence, as if it had been made and designed in 2004.
How's that feel? And of course, the statue comes to life and
He's doing inverted commas.
kills this guy
Yeah.
for daring to question America's freedom. and speaking of which, when we cut to the home of the Fantastic Four, which is the Baxter Building,
Yes.
it is situated in...
New York City was often called the greatest city in the world.
Except notably never by the billions of people who do not live in America. I am fascinated by how much of, even in like American films, especially documentaries, New York just looks like an absolute dirty shithole.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a century ago or even more, you know, you had the Italians and Jewish and Irish people all dreaming of New York. It was this idealized place, and now it is not so much.
And then there's an additional scene here where Johnny is concerned about the sort of retail placement of Fantastic Four action figures in the Fantastic Four gift shop. He's very upset that the Thing is outselling the Human Torch. So this is...
Well, it's because it has actual flame-on capabilities, and it just wasn't safe for kids, but they didn't want to recall them.
It was great for the construction workers who needed to light their cigars after their shift, though. They would come in and grab one. This is sort of the beginning of Johnny's insecurities, something that we'll be getting into as we go. Reed is in the lab, and the book really fetishizes his amazing technological device. He's using it all the time. He has a PDA.
I had to look up what that was. What is
Wait, was
that?
personal data assistant? Something like that. They say PDA so many times, though, that I really did expect when we got to the end of the book to find an ad for one.
Yeah. This is the part where there's a really weird scene where Reed, he splits his thumbs into like multiple smaller thumbs, and then he types super fast, and then Johnny says, you know, I've always been simultaneously impressed and creeped out by that, and Reed, in response, says, yeah, Sue says I'm addicted to it. What does that even mean? I've watched that so many times.
He's addicted to his PDA. He's addicted to typing.
Apparently.
And action typing is just a staple of the novelization. And I think when you split your thumbs into multiple thumbs in order to type even faster, because, you know, writers write about what they know, and what they know is typing. So this is one of the great typing scenes of
Cinematic history.
our generation. But Johnny, he whisks Reed away from his PDA. They go off to prep for Reed's bachelor party, because this film and book, the book, about 100 pages, the film about 30 minutes, is all about prepping for a wedding. There's no superhero antics or saving people or doing anything like that.
Yeah.
It is wedding preparations. That would be like watching, you know, you watch Age of Ultron, and I know there's some people that criticize it. I think it's great. And really early on, like you're about 10 seconds into the movie and all the Avengers leap out of that car in this action shot, and you're just like, fuck yeah, superhero stuff. The equivalent would be like if it was the Avengers Age of Ultron started with them preparing for a barbecue.
Oh, you know, have that
minutes.
party at the first act of the film.
Yeah.
Them going out.
They're in the
getting
supermarket.
Yeah.
They're buying sausages and chips and all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
Thor's buying beer and you know, Black Widow's putting up streamers. That would be what this is like. Thing is trying on a tux.
The tailor brought out the black tuxedo jacket. With his newfound celebrity, Ben had been surprised as to how many companies had stepped forward to manufacture custom-made items to go with his new size. Tennis shoes, clothing, even some electronic equipment.
Is this the same deal that Kevin Smith has?
Maybe.
But seriously though, the thing in this film is dwarfed by at least half the population
Yes.
of America. I can't imagine this being a problem at all.
No.
Like, just go to Walmart. Like, I could promise Ben they're not going to go, oh no, we've never seen a big fat person before.
And it's always weird seeing your profession depicted in a movie, or in this case, the novelization. Because, I do costume design and make clothes for people. I've done suits before, certainly. So I'm acutely aware of how rubbish this tailor is. I mean, really, it's not his size that will be a problem. I have this theory that it would be the friction, because I don't know if you've noticed, but fabric and rocks don't really go well together. So he'd probably wear some trousers and the crotch would just wear away in 5 minutes.
Could you line it with Teflon?
Perhaps.
There we go. Solving problems.
But yeah, he doesn't need to breathe. He doesn't have skin that needs to breathe. I'm just thinking more and more of how his skin works. It's fascinating.
I think it's really weird in the Josh Trank movie how he doesn't wear pants and he doesn't have a cock.
Yeah, well, yeah, what happened to it? Is it just like, yeah, how does he pee? Oh, now I'm thinking too much about it. Oh.
Just a little stream of pebbles falls out of his crotch. Maybe that's what he did with the kids. The hand thing is just a distraction. While the men go off to the bachelor party, Sue is intercepted by soldiers led by
A grizzled man with a creased face and a dour expression. His skin was as dark as the night, his hair closely cropped to his head. General George Hager had served his country for his entire life and disliked New York, a town of liberal hippies and communists.
This book is a little bit left-leaning, I noticed. It gets a little bit political at times. We always talk about the introduction of race. Like, is the novelization person going to mention it? Are they going to do it clumsily? This is right out there. His skin was dark as the night.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
I'm not even dancing around it.
No.
Yeah, there are entire websites and Tumblr accounts dedicated to how do you address race in your writing.
You say, he was black as coffee.
The general consensus is do not compare them to food, and it's okay to just say black. Black is not a swear word.
And the general wants to be taken to Reed, who is at the bachelor party.
Yes, of course, that's great timing. What's
going on?
Where am I?
I'm going to take this. Why is it so hard to get these two to loosen up, Johnny thought, as he pushed them into the heart of the nightclub. The large space was filled almost to capacity with gorgeous girls and well-groomed men. So really something for everyone. I've got a feeling that Johnny picked this place very deliberately.
Yes.
We'll get there. And now the toughest challenge to ever face a novelizationist. Describe Reed Richards' embarrassingly shitty dancing. Probably the bat credit card of this film.
Oh, it is more cringeworthy than Doctor Doom. His mind, what? His mind and focus. Oh, yeah, sorry. I was totally misread. I'm letting you down. I'm just gonna leave. I'm sorry. Okay. His mind and focus slipped as his body lost its shape, his arms stretched and flying out into the air. His legs stretched, propelling his body upward without his feet leaving the metal dance floor. His arms were like ribbons coming alive, bending and twisting around the large room. For once, Reed detached his body from his mind and gave himself over to the music.
Do you remember this feeling? Did you see this at the cinema?
Mum took me to this and Spider-Man 3 in the cinemas. It was...
I remember this was that sinking feeling when you're watching like bad CGI dancing and Reed. I was just like, this has just gone really south. There's no way this is coming back from this.
Yeah, I was, 15 at the time, and yeah, even then I thought it was totally shit.
Yes, not good.
Also, I don't know why, but Ben Grimm dancing amuses me greatly. I just think it's kind of cute, and if someone could make that a gift for me, I would be very happy.
I'm sure somebody already has.
Yay!
So the General and Sue Storm, they come in to stop all of this dumb dancing shit. Apparently there's been giant craters and things appearing throughout the world, accompanied by a mysterious silver blur. And they're basically like, help us sort this shit out, Reed. You're so smart. Help us. And Reed's like, nah, son, fuck that noise. I get married, yo. Does not want anything to do with it. But Victor Von Doom, he is back in Latveria, brooding in his portrait gallery, and I thought this really was an attempt to make him more like the comics and kind of flesh out some of that backstory that just isn't really important in the film.
Yeah, it's at least tonally trying to get there. Yeah.
Which, is a writer here that does know something about the comics.
In each portrait, a Von Doom held the family's faceplate, an ancient piece of metallic jewellery forged in fire generations ago. To each of the figures in the paintings, the faceplate was worth more than gold, for it symbolised a power that could be passed down to each succeeding generation.
It's worth more than gold, except he did just hire some, shitty, cheap, asking no questions welder to damage the friggin' thing and take it off his face.
Yep.
Yeah, and Doom decides, you know what? I'm going to go after that mysterious silver object. He got his eyes on the prize.
Oh, yeah.
Second prize. Silver prize. And I don't remember this line in the film. Reed is building the sensor for the general anyway. He said he wasn't going to do it, but he's secretly doing it. Doesn't want Sue to know. And he's building it up on the roof where they're going to get married. And then Johnny comes in. Johnny surveyed the mess of circuitry and wires all over the floor of the deck. His eyes ran up to the large piece of metal that was the main body of the sensor. Hey, you're building that thing, aren't you? Man, when Sue finds out, you're going to get an invisible kick in the nuts.
In a recent interview with Chris Evans, what was that? It was actually a convention panel, but someone asked him, how do you feel about Fantastic Four now, and comparing that to being Captain America, and he goes, I was just an idiot back then. I was so young, and I didn't even think about it, and, now Captain America is so stressful, and I take it so seriously.
I would like to see the invisible kick in the nuts. I can just imagine, because surely his nuts stretch as well. So they would just start, billowing like a Great Dane's cheeks sticking out of a car window. And I think, why doesn't he ever use his nuts? In battle or whatever, he could spin them around like a bowler. He could jump out of a plane and use them as a parachute. He could shield people with them. He could, wrap himself.
Why have you thought this much about this?
I just think it would be absolutely fantastic. He could use his knack as maracas if he wanted to. I think it would be wonderful. Yes, so there's also a wacky preparing for the wedding montage, which is not in the film, and it contains gems like this.
While Ben was busy with his car, Johnny tried to keep an even footing under the weight of the multi-tiered cake. He kept his eyes on top of it, where the plastic bride and groom were standing in rich buttercream frosting. He heard the steady clicking of high heels on the pavement and turned to see a leggy redhead walking by, a tight Fantastic Four t-shirt stretching itself across her ample chest. His jaw dropped suddenly, so did the cake.
Big titties make Johnny drop cake, so funny. And then we get the old, oh no's, people will think we're gay gag, which also appeared, I'm pretty sure it was in the Independence Day novelization, and now I'm wondering who wrote the Independence Day novelization. That wasn't Peter David, was it?
It's not readily available.
Because that would be interesting if he used the same gag twice. Someone will know. Just pretend that we know. But anyway, this happens. Johnny kneels to hand Ben some dropped flowers, and a photographer appeared from behind a group of parked cars. He quickly snapped a photo just as Ben was taking the flowers from Johnny. They exchanged a worried look. Geez, Johnny thought, this wedding better be worth it.
I don't know. I mean, he was checking out the ladies and the fellas at the nightclub, just saying.
Yeah, I wonder if, the comedic, I dropped the cake because I saw those boobs, was overcompensating.
I feel like he's overcompensating.
Yeah, there's something there. Finally, the fucking day of the wedding arrives. Sue makes a zit invisible, crisis averted.
A zit that you will notice never reappears, so was she focused on that the entire time, like when she met the Silver Surfer, when she was struggling to hold up the London Eye, when she died?
Spoilers, yeah. I think that's why she was a little bit off her game later on.
Right.
And Johnny asks Ben how he and Alicia, because he would hate to find out that she'd been killed in a rock slide. I thought that was quite unexpected in the movie too. And Ben has such a that's none of your damn business, kind of response. And I was like, wow, everybody always has these questions about the Thing. Even in this film, everyone wants to know.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's... other than speculating about his skin, the next thing you speculate about is, that.
Yeah, I reckon Alicia probably takes the occasional meteor shower to the face.
Ooh.
A couple of pebbles. Yes, 100 pages in, half hour into the film, the wedding is interrupted by the crazy storm that takes over the Baxter building, and the
Storm shows up? Awesome.
Yes, crazy storm, crazy Halle Berry, drunk on cooking sherry. No, it is the arrival of the eyes of the Fantastic Four grew wide. Above them floated a being seemingly made of pure silver. We're not reading very well today.
I'm doing my best.
In the shape of a man, but obviously otherworldly, balanced on a sleek, thin board, the same colour as its skin, which is silver, if we recall correctly.
I thought it was pewter. Oh.
No, this is the Silver Surfer.
Shit.
Not the pewter...
Power Ranger.
Sure. A chill ran through each of them as they realised that the thing they feared, the cause of the craters and molecular anomalies, maybe he was responsible for that crater on his face, was standing right in front of them. And Johnny flames on and takes chase.
Surrounded by a city of metal, and still the figure was radiant, almost celestial. Johnny couldn't help but think of some cosmic, shining, avenging angel. He's referred to as an angel many times.
Yes.
Words escaped him, as they so often did, and all he could mutter was, "Oh, that is so cool."
Yeah, so Johnny has this change here. If we're looking at Johnny's arc, Johnny's been like, oh, the ladies, hey, look at the ladies. He's still noticed as a well-groomed man, but...
Johnny Bravo for the most.
He's about the ladies, yeah, because he's this young, sort of good-looking, hot shot. He sort of overcompensates, like we said. But when he sees the Silver Surfer, he's just struck by his beauty. He's absolutely mesmerised by this thing. And I wondered, maybe this story is actually about Johnny coming to terms with his sexuality, which is why he was so concerned of the photographer taking that shot. And you think as well, the cosmic rays gave them all powers that were based around their personalities. Mm-hmm. Sue's the sort of shy one, so she becomes invisible. Maybe Johnny became fire because he's a flaming homosexual.
You do make a compelling case, but I think my money's still on him being bisexual.
But look, seriously, listen to this. Johnny struggled to get away, to be released from the being's otherworldly grip, but he could not budge. Okay, he said, let's see what it takes to melt that silver butt of yours.
Is this taken from Tumblr?
I'm gonna melt that silver butt with my hot stuff. Ow! Great balls of fire. Yeah, I think this is interesting, and I think it's a real positive thing because Marvel needs more diverse characters.
Yeah.
They made Iceman gay in the comics.
Yeah, and then
recently.
You've got the Young Avengers, where I think there isn't any straight people on that team.
And I think, Evans particularly, someone that is this good-looking, jock kind of confident guy is a good role model for it. So I think it would actually be more interesting.
And then, depending on who you talk to, apparently Captain America and Winter Soldier have a thing, so...
This is
Chris
talking
Evans.
to Tumblr again, right?
Yes.
Johnny escapes. He returns to the Baxter building, but he's obviously, at this point, a volcano of conflicting emotions because of his interaction with this beautiful silver angel.
He looked at his sister's face, concern etched lines into her brow. She looked so tired. He wanted to tell her about it, his encounter with the silver thing and how it made him feel, but he couldn't.
See, because he's always been that guy.
Yeah.
It's been women and stuff. And now this thing has made him feel something he's never felt before.
Yeah.
And he is really confused. Even with his sister, he doesn't know how to tell her that he's having these feelings. I really think we've found the core of this story.
I think so. This is the more interesting subplot, I think.
Flames shot upward from his body, even though he was not ignited. Johnny! Sue yelled out to him, concerned at the strange sight. What's wrong? Johnny looked at his sister, fear staining his face. I don't know. I've been feeling weird ever since my run-in with Surfer Boy.
This is getting pretty hard.
Yeah, and just even that affectionate term, surfer boy.
Yeah.
He's found surfer boy. His body is now reacting in ways that he can't control. He's feeling things he's shy about telling the others. He's having these little ignitions, eruptions. He's just not in control. So Sue...
We are not exaggerating any of this.
No,
by
this
the
is
way.
all. This is the subtext of this book, and it is actually the most interesting thing in the book because it's an actual character arc.
Yeah.
It's personal. So Sue touches Johnny, and then he becomes invisible, and she turns into fire. So he sort of lets in this like feminine side into him. He gets to soften a little bit. She flies around outside for a bit, and when he touches her again, she goes back to normal, although...
He looked to the now... I can't talk. Anyway, I know sometimes my voice breaks and I can feel it happening, and he looked to the now staring and confused crowd for support, but all eyes were locked on his sister. Her body had lost its flames, but in the switch, all her clothes had been burned off.
What?
Without the benefit of her special suit, she was left naked in the light of day. It also took a second for Sue to realize what had happened. She turned herself invisible once again to hide from the prying wide eyes of the crowd. Why does this always happen to me? She asked to no one in particular.
Well, we know that because of the wedding and everything, photographers are following them absolutely everywhere and photographing them all the time. And now here is Sue Storm naked out on the street. So there's tomorrow's front page and headline. I'm thinking Invisible Woman in Carpet Drape Scandal, Fiery Crotch Exposes Unmatched Swatch, perhaps. And, you know, to happen once would be forgivable, but this happened to her. She got naked in the first film. They did this exact same thing. So it becomes like such an, it's exploitative once. Twice, it's super exploitative.
Yeah, at least they didn't do that in the new Fantastic Four.
This is Tim Story just going, well, let's get Jessica Alba naked.
Yeah, Jessica Alba. I mean,
as much as we can. So, yes, her vagina is all over the
Could you imagine them doing
city.
this with Black Widow? Oh, wait, Iron Man 2 was pretty...
No, they've never got.
Well, she's getting dressed in the back of the car, but you didn't see anything.
No.
And
you know what? Yeah, go on.
I was making an observation about how the paparazzi is always harassing them, and you know the paparazzi still exists now. But I find it interesting when everyone has phones on them. A lot of these celebrities have Twitter and all that. So if you want to really know about these people, you just go and find them on the internet.
Yeah, but paparazzi, they still follow everyone around because it's money. You can sell those images.
I know. I'm wondering. Well, I guess it's like my mum's generation buying those magazines still, whereas nowadays we're just looking at these things online.
Still, nudity sells.
Yep.
This is a big one. Victor, you know what? He is almost as entranced with the surfer as Johnny was. He goes off to offer a partnership with the surfer in Greenland. But Surfer apparently rips him a new one. If this silver being could rip him apart with one slight gesture, Victor realised he needed to use more than brute strength to stop him.
Oh, also, can you imagine Doom, like the real Doom, making quips like this? Let me guess, he said mockingly, his scarred face even more twisted as he tried to smile. It's the world's biggest barbecue pit.
Yikes. And he inexplicably decides...
Why is he an American accent anyway? It makes it worse.
Yeah, and it's an Australian actor, right? Decides to go and work with the Fantastic Four. Now, the military are back. And along with the General Hager, we have Captain Ray, Frankie Ray from the comics, who's an attractive female, but she knows by this stage that Johnny has his heart set on other things. Ray was holding a copy of the New York Post and flipped the newspaper over, revealing its front page. The paper featured a full-page cover shot of Johnny, down on one knee, handing flowers to Ben. Johnny remembered the shot from the many errands he and Ben had done for Reed before the latest ruined wedding attempt. The headline of the paper read, "Just Fantastic Friends?" Ray met his look with a wry grin. "That's not what it looks like," Johnny said, stumbling over his words, feeling himself blush. "It's none of my business," Captain Ray said quickly. So he has a support structure.
Yep.
At least.
Yeah, she's cool with it.
So all of the planets that the Surfer visits, they realise, are now dead husks. And it pretty much looks like our planet, Earth, little lonely Earth, is next. So the four follow the Surfer to London. Note that they are in America when they realise that the Surfer's going to attack London. But when they travel to London, because they go there straight away with some American military, the London Eye is absolutely full of people, which they decide, oh shit, we'll have to evacuate these people. Couldn't they have called ahead?
Yeah.
And evacuated everybody? Did they not have any faith in the British at all to be able to have any mechanism in place where they could evacuate people or warn people or get their own military there?
The general even asks if they should call them back up, and Reed says, no, it's fine, the four of us is what we do. We know this creature, this Silver Surfer, is unstoppable and really fucked up Johnny, but you know what? We're fine. Don't call in any other people, because, we're the Fantastic Four and we haven't fucked up ever. While we're at it, especially don't tell the British government, and fuck you, Reed. Fuck you. Also, why is it always the most iconic part of any country that gets attacked in action movies? If England is under attack, you bet it will be London. It's not Blackpool or Sussex.
Yeah, you'd think it's to orient the audience so they know, but I talked about this on a podcast recently. Like, every time now, you can be Big Ben on the screen, you get London, England come up as a caption.
Yeah.
Like, how fucking dumb are people? And, they should have called ahead because all this shit's happening. There's glass flying everywhere. One Japanese tourist fell hard against the rounded glass observation room, breaking the already cracked laminated glass and almost pitching out the jagged window. He held onto the window frame glass, scratching his bloodied hands, his feet dangling in the cold night air as the wheel started to fall. It is very horrible. But, amazingly, despite general incompetence and more random power switching, the FF managed to survive, although...
A shudder ran through them both as they heard the wailing cry of an ambulance in the distance. It was then that Reed knew, deep in his heart, that he had failed.
They had failed. They'd all failed. Things have not gone well at all.
No, you failed, Reed. You had every opportunity to get back up. Also, Johnny should have been able to handle this situation almost entirely alone. He could just weld the damn wheel back in place. I mean, he's making his sister do all the work. What a douche.
Yeah, but he is so distracted.
Oh.
Imagine you just met, this hot dude. You've kind of got this big crush. You haven't seen him since. You have all these conflicting emotions. And then because of Reed's technology, he's coming back. You're about to see him again. And his stomach is full of butterflies. Sue is completely distracted as well. She's got this zit.
Yeah.
She's concentrating on that.
And what was Reed trying to accomplish by holding onto the wheel? He's not super strong, he's not super dense, so it's the equivalent of tying a shoelace to a bike wheel. You're a shit team leader, Reed. I will not accept this.
He's playing Angry Birds on his PDA.
Could you imagine Nick Fury evaluating the situation? Like Sam Jackson, Nick Fury.
Yeah, he wouldn't be impressed. He'd call off the whole initiative.
Oh, and also... how did Johnny expect to catch the guy falling out of the London Eye? Because, he can fly towards him, sure. But if you got anywhere near him, it would be like a person standing behind a jet as it took off.
Poor teamwork all around.
You're all terrible. I don't even remember what the thing was doing in this scene.
Having a drop in the rock. So the general... he's so unimpressed at this that he brings Victor into the team to help. Because, that makes a lot of sense considering their past.
Yeah.
Obviously, General Hagar has not watched the first film. And Victor, they need Victor because he has figured out that the board is the source of the Surfer's power.
Well, after that fantastic fuck-up, I do understand why the General would turn to someone else. And in any other situation, that would be Doctor Doom. But given the choice between these assholes, I think I'd prefer to recruit, absolutely anyone else. The Great Lakes Avengers.
Big Bertha.
Yes. She could have held on to that London Eye. She would have had that situation sorted. Squirrel Girl can defeat the Silver Surfer.
Absolutely. They all mope around. Reed does more action typing. She walked quietly into the lab, hoping not to disturb Reed. She found him hunched over his PDA, typing madly at the device. And apparently, this is another clue that this is a writer that knows about comics. The PDA has an adamantium case.
What?
Same metal as Wolverine's claws.
Easter egg. And as I was saying before, I was I find it interesting that majority of this novel is told from Sue's point of view, but despite upgrading her from a model or an actress like in the original comic, she is supposed to have gone to MIT and is pretty qualified in her own right, and yet she's just about as useless as she ever was.
At least Kate Mara seems smart.
Yeah.
In the new one.
Also, personally, I think Kate Mara should play Batgirl. That would be awesome.
Also, she'd be Batwoman, wouldn't she?
Batwoman. Well,
Yeah.
Barbara Gordon is what I mean.
Yeah. 'Cause she's 30 something.
I know, it's so weird, like, Batgirl is always referred to as Batgirl, no matter how old she is. No, Batwoman is something Kane, I can't remember.
Who cares?
Yeah, I don't mean that one, I mean Barbara Gordon.
Johnny is walking around half naked. That's all I care about. You sure you didn't just come in here to see me in a towel? He fumbled with his grip on the fabric around his waist, pretending it was about to fall. Pathetic, Ray thought, her face remaining passive and uninterested. You're not fooling anyone with that routine. Johnny, she's got your number, pal, and I don't mean your phone number. I mean your number.
I just, in that scene, though, I was thinking, oh, so to be Captain America, they had to wax his chest, I'm assuming, because he's totally hairless. Also, he's well fit in Fantastic Four, and then in Winter Soldier, he's insane. Holy shit.
Well, I saw a picture, while we're talking about such things, of Hugh Jackman in the very first X-Men next to him in the Wolverine, his last solo movie.
Yeah.
And he is fucking jacked, man.
I know!
He's huge and jacked, man. Crazy. Alright, the surfer is fucking up the Black Forest, not the cake, the actual location.
Oh, shame.
He's just fucking ploughing into a Black Forest. The military
I haven't had these in a millennia.
are getting ready to spring a trap using Reed's device, which is basically going to separate the link between the surfer and his board. And Reed, he is just fucked off with everyone. He's at his last fucking nerve, wits end thing. His goat has been got.
His jimmies have been rustled.
They have been so rustled. He's ready to just pull his scrotum over his head and shut everybody out.
You have a ball obsession.
It was all on Reed's shoulders, his balls. Just as it always had been. The future of the Four, the future of his life with Sue, and now the future of the planet. Mr. Fantastic was fed up, and Hager was starting a high school pissing contest. Worked in a school for 7 years. Thankfully, have never been privy to one of those.
Thank goodness.
And don't cross the streams.
There is a total Peter David paragraph about Ben encountering a bear, and the narration is quick to point out that bears had not been seen in this part of Germany in a long time.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of David just starting to sprout out of this thing. But look, again, this isn't about Ben, it's not about Reed. This is about what lurks under the surface of Johnny. Sue leaned into her fiancé and whispered into his ear, I am so hot for you right now. Johnny embraced Reed from behind in a mocking brotherly hug. Me too, he cheered.
Funny jokes.
Yeah. And, oh my god, damn sexy surfer. Now Sue has a lady boner for this guy as well.
She noticed that his face was calm and smooth, his eyes filled with light. It was the most gentle and radiant visage she had ever encountered, and deep inside she felt no fear, no hesitation. She felt only comfort and companionship, as if all her aching questions around the world were suddenly and finally being answered. She did not fight the small smile that grew on her warm face, as if by instinct she reached out to touch the celestial being in front of her.
Inside her tight suit, she was slushing around like a duck in a puddle.
Oh, but it keeps going.
The surfer silently returned her gaze. The connection was not one-sided. The same hand that doomed planets reached out into the infinite space between Susan and the surfer. He reached out and touched her cheek. Susan leaned into the gentle caressing touch, her cheeks flush, bathed in his radiance.
We are now officially entering fanfiction territory.
They had a little bit of a thing in the comics, didn't they? I'm pretty sure they did. And fucking Namor as well.
And and Doom. They all have a thing for Sue, but also Alicia Masters had a thing for Silver Surfer, I seem to recall.
Well, he is very dashing.
Yes.
But Surfer is cock-blocked by Reed and his PDA.
The surfer grew limp and sank through his board, falling hard to the dirty ground below. The once powerful and hovering board fell next to him with a thud. "Wipe out," Johnny said with a grin.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, there's a new Silver Surfer comic series that you were telling me about, and I just looked it up. It is adorable.
Mike Allred and Dan Slott doing that one. I haven't read it yet, but it feels like it's got a sort of Doctor Who-y vibe, where he's got a female companion and they travel around the galaxy together looking at strange things.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It baffles me that Doctor Doom, one of the biggest badasses in the Marvel Universe, if not any universe, if I may say so, but here he's depicted in this very camp, very American villain style with no resemblance to the original character at all. And yet the Silver Surfer is portrayed with that right amount of gravitas. He's as beautiful and elegant as he's supposed to be, and you have Doug Jones in the costume and Lawrence Fishburne doing the voice, so you really do get that sense of stillness and power. And he was also animated quite nicely, but I'll say I prefer the practical costume. So, did Tim Story happen to really like the Silver Surfer or what? No.
I don't know, because I agree. It's a really good screen version of him. And then later on, I don't know if it's because the animatics department and stuff are just really great, the visual effects people, but there are some really cool shots of the Surfer in space that look fantastic and don't look like anything else in this film, which is otherwise really bland.
It looks like he's come from a different film, one of the more modern Marvel films. He could easily be edited in, I don't know, Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
Yeah, I totally accept this version.
Absolutely.
So the US military lock up the Surfer and they begin doing what the US military does best. There are some things that I'm not permitted to do because they're considered human rights violations, he said, letting his voice trail off into the empty space of the cell. They bent over, staring hard at the Surfer's passive face. Fortunately, you're not human. Yes! Torturing captives.
Yep.
And if you think I'm the only one being political about this as well, Sue actually sneaks in to check on the Surfer's well-being, and we get this little snippet.
She bent down, instinctively wanting to comfort him. She touched his head softly. The people of our world don't condone this kind of treatment, she said. Images of Abu Ghraib suddenly flashing into her mind. The words sounded hollow even to her.
Yeah.
Whoa, just inserting some heavy shit there, man.
Americans, torturers. And Surfer reveals who he serves, a hungry cosmic cloud.
The destroyer was unstoppable, ravenous, its fearsome power darker than the endless space that surrounded it. The Surfer began to speak again, narrating the horrifying image in front of her. It is known by many names. My people call it Galactus, the devourer of worlds.
Our neighboring planet calls it Hungry Steve.
And for some reason it is spelt, it's broken down by syllable like Galactus. So it sounds more alien?
Because Galactus is too silly. I reckon Marvel could do the big purple man Galactus and it would be absolutely fine. He could totally exist in the Guardians of the Galaxy style world.
That'd be awesome. Also, the Silver Surfer is apparently a sexy Teletubby because he shows her this vision of Galactus on his abs. And I will also add that I hate the whole Mina Murray Dracula trope where there's this immortal being and he finds a woman who reminds him of this other woman he once loved.
Pussy on the pedestal. Mm-hmm. And then Galactus is drawn to Earth by the beacon. That's why he's coming. And the beacon is otherwise known as...
The board, she thought to herself. The Earth is doomed to a fiery apocalyptic demise because of a surfboard.
That's a bit Peter David-y there as well.
Yes.
Not impressed. And then Victor, of course, he jumps on the board. He's on the board and he's riding around and causing shit. Victor stepped gingerly on the board, instantly felt it, the surging and powerful energy, the full-throated euphoria of being connected to every living thing. Cowabunga, he yelled. Totally radical, dude.
Given that that it is this version of Doctor Doom, sure, why not? He could totally say that.
Yeah, true.
Why was that not an action figure? I would have totally bought it. Doctor Doom on a surfboard.
You just got to buy the Silver Surfer and the Silver Surfer figure not only came with
I had that
surfboard, but with Howard the Duck. So good.
Oh, I did not have that one.
The Marvel Legends one.
Oh right, no, yeah. When this movie came out, I thought, yeah, Silver Surfer's rad, so I did get that one.
There we go.
And I will mention that Doom does steal the board in the comics, only after Galactus is defeated, because, Doom doesn't want the world destroyed, he wants to rule it duh, this Doom apparently just wants to watch the world burn, which just sort of comes across as him being that annoying kid who won't give back that thing because someone else wants it.
Playing piggy in the middle.
Yeah, Reed's like, seriously, dude, give us a surfboard. He's like, no, fuck you.
And this is just so tonally out of place from the rest of the book. Victor disposes of General Hager. Now, remember, if you've seen the Josh Trank Fantastic Four, Doom comes in and he blows up heads. And that seemed to be a bit of an innovation, but apparently it's not innovative at all, because according to this novelization, Victor played with the General's epidermis, and his once clear dark skin shriveled like wet paper and fell to the ground below him in a puddle of blood and cells. His throat constricted as Victor brought his lungs and heart up from his chest, the General making wet choking noises, unable to move or defend himself. Blood vessels on his face and arms popped like grapes in a vice. His fingers turned deep purple as they pulled with blood. Violent tremors kicked his legs and feet. It just keeps going. The base of his brain swelled and finally exploded, partially covering the wall behind him, just as his aorta collapsed, and the General sent out one long final cough, thick with phlegm and blood. Victor let the bloody General fall to the floor, the insides of his body pulling around his lifeless form. Take that, Josh Trank!
That is so brutal.
That's insane.
So heavy, man. And that most certainly did not happen in the movie, or it was ever probably conceived of in the script, because, like, it was, what, PG-13?
Yeah.
And all of the films, Josh Trank's one included, seem to want to make Victor into this homicidal maniac like the Joker, but of course over 50 odd years, well, of course to me I guess it's not obvious to anyone else, but 616, the main Marvel Universe Doctor Doom, has a really low kill count. I looked it up just before I wrote these notes, and yeah, it's about 40 total.
Oh look, he cried at September 11. He's a total puss.
Don't get me started on that.
He's still got like little rust trails down the cheeks of his mask. So the Four and the Surfer have to chase after Surfing Doom, and Reed summons his latest invention, the Fantastica.
Johnny couldn't wait to get his hands on this, his eyes crawling all over the exterior before spying a rather familiar yet subtly placed Dodge logo.
Yes, the dodgy product placement, which was all through both films, in fact.
And why does it not have a roof? Dear God, they're going at the speed of sound and there's no roof. The only two, I guess, who would survive that are the Thing and Johnny.
I think Reed just stretches his scrotum over the top like a convertible cover.
What is it with you and his balls?
They all have a bit of a chat on the drive. I thought this was quite good.
I was once called Norrin Rad, the surfer repeated. So rad. That is one weird-ass name, Johnny remarked, looking from the outside at Ben.
That is true. Norrin Rad is the actual comic name of the Silver Surfer. And turns out that old Norrin Rad was enslaved to Galactus in return for saving his planet and the woman he loved.
She has a weird name too.
Sharon Rad.
Shia LaBeouf, something like that. Shia LaBeouf.
Yes. So Doom attacks. He throws a bit of the Great Wall of China at them.
They're in China, a massive country. Where are they? Great Wall. Nowhere else.
And then
he may as well throw a fucking panda at them.
That's true, but they do end up having their final battle in a Shanghai market street. And Doom tries to skewer Surfer with a silver spear, but the smitten Sue jumps in the way.
The powerful weapon impaled her torso. She felt a rush of air, like she had taken a long, deep breath. Then she felt nothing. She crumpled to the ground like a ruined flower.
She is a dead Jim. And this is the one sentence that really made me think it was Peter David, because remember there was so much criticism about Jessica Alba's blue contacts and blonde wig.
It looked so weird.
And the fans really, attacked that. And if it is Peter David, this author is belligerently fighting against Jessica Alba's contacts by saying her beautiful brown eyes were round and moist, glassy as marbles.
Perhaps. I don't know. Was that kind of a late decision to make it more like the comics?
I don't know. I just think he's rejecting what he's seeing on the film. He's like, I'm not going to mention the blue eyes because it looks stupid.
That's a question, though. Do you think an actor should already kind of resemble the character, or do you just do what they do with Kate Mara? She doesn't look anything like Sue Storm, but, that's just...
No, I think it's more they should have a kind of essence or energy of the, hair and all that sort of stuff can be changed. I think if it's really fighting against how, you don't want to... slap a toupee on Bruce Willis and say that he's Aquaman or something. But, as long as they've got that sort of essence, I think it's okay.
Because when they did make her hair blonde and her eyes blue, it's just so distracting.
Unless they're talking about her round, moist brown eye that was on the newspaper a couple of days previous. Then Galactus turns up and starts sucking shit up. If Reed Richards had ever imagined what the end of the world would look like, it was there in the dying landscape before him. He watched buildings reduced to rubble in seconds, trees wilting and dying in less than that. The entire world seemed to creak and groan, a sharp dagger dangling just over its pumping head. I don't know, pumping head. That sounds a bit odd.
What does that mean? In a movie this ridiculous, they somehow deemed Galactus as originally designed to be too campy.
You just gotta fucking commit.
Yeah.
And Doom can only be defeated when Johnny finally lets his male companions inside of him and absorbs all of their powers. And this is the true Johnny.
His body appeared to be made of rock, but his trim frame still burned with living fire. Johnny drew back his now large fist and pounded Victor in the face with his rocky power.
Pounded Victor in the face, and Johnny defeats Doom by wrapping his hot body around him. Victor continued to struggle and toss about, but Johnny kept him locked, tight in his fiery embrace. You go for it, Johnny. We're on your side. Fucking love it.
I gotta say, when I first watched this movie, I was kind of hoping the twist would be that Doom defeats Galactus, but...
No, the surfer gets his board back, he puts his Christ magic on Sue, turns her back to life.
Her wound was gone, her eyes fluttered and remained closed, but her chest moved with breath, her skin once again pink and warm and filled with life.
Pink and warm. And then the surfer flies off into the space cloud to stop Galactus, which is nowhere near as epic in the book. That really just surprised me. I thought we'd, because the action sequences in this are quite well written, and I thought we'd get this really big moment, but he just kind of chases it vaguely away. Like, I actually kind of reread it, because I was like, I don't really know what happened there. He just kind of kites him away from the Earth, basically. And that's it. Earth is saved. The wedding is back on. And this time, it is a simple ceremony in a Japanese garden. And in the film, there's, like, antics with the bouquet being tossed, and Johnny sets it alight. Instead, this happens. This is the ending.
Reed scanned the small screen of his fucking PDA. A frown formed on his face. There's some kind of giant creature attacking Paris.
Johnny clenched his fists, ready for a fight. Oh boy, he said with excitement. That's a biggie. He raised his eyebrows at his sister as if asking for permission.
Sue smiled at her brother and then turned to the minister. Can you skip to the end?
The minister, obviously flummoxed by the turn of events, started to stutter. The love these two share...
No, Reed interrupted. The very end.
I now pronounce you man and wife, the minister blurted out.
Reed turned to his bride and smiled. Sue returned the smile and leaned in for their first kiss as husband and wife. After the intimate moment, Sue pulled back quickly. Her face showed that she was all business. Okay, that's it. Let's go.
I would have thought it said after the intimate moment, Reed pulled out quickly. Reed, Sue, Ben and Johnny raced out of the Japanese gardens, past the changing maple tree and stone garden, past the pond with the gentle water lilies floating on its surface, past the raked sand garden to the front of the temple. There stood Reed's refurbished jet, all in one piece now, affectionately known to the group as the Fantastica. Polished and shining in the afternoon sunlight, they all jumped in together and Reed revved up the enhanced engines. He pulled the jet up into the pale blue sky, careful not to damage the just married banner on its side as a trail of noisy tin cans followed them up into the air. One of those noisy tin cans was Herbie, the robot. From the cartoon.
Oh.
And that is the end. That is Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. What did you think? Was the book better?
Absolutely.
You reckon?
Yeah, by far. Because I think the biggest problem these films have is tone. They want to kind of be camp, like the original, but they also want to be modern, and it just sits in this really uncomfortable place in between, whereas the book gives you the freedom to imagine tone.
That was very well said. Very well stated. I'm going to 100% agree with you. The book was better. Now, on Amazon, there weren't actually... You'd think with this movie being quite a controversial movie and quite a hated movie that there would be lots of amusing reviews, but there weren't. So instead, I'm going to read this review. It's a little bit long, and it's just a segment, though. But this is a guy who has, or girl, I'm not sure, who has picked up a lot of stuff that we haven't talked about, and I thought, wow, this is really quite smart.
Should we add them to our roster?
Yes, come and join us. One chapter declares the FF have 48 hours to save the world. Later in the same chapter, they talk about several days passing since that deadline is mentioned. Another section describes Johnny's powers swapping at touch, but yet he hugs Ben at one point and no power swap. Then later he touches all, including a dying Susan, to absorb all their powers and somehow retains his own for the upcoming fight with Victor Von Doom. Sounds like Super Skrull was inserted here. Also, earlier we saw how the surfer transmuted Victor from the fight to another location because he was a pest, not because he was doing any real damage to the surfer, but when Victor had these same powers and was demonstrating powers that the surfer hadn't thought about, he seemed unable to pull off the same transmutation on Johnny when this fight was going on. Also, during this fight, Victor loses full track of Johnny as he becomes invisible, but Norrin Rad senses Susan in his cell, even separated from his board.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, Galactus, spelt Galactus in the book, appears on the scene to absorb the world, but instead leaves to chase the surfer with no intervention from those on Earth. Very inconsistent, since there is no reason found in the book to demonstrate why he should leave before absorbing all life from the planet.
Damn straight.
So there are some astute observations from an Amazon reviewer who are normally can barely walk on their hind legs or, sound like a group of cats playing on a keyboard, and actually has pointed out a lot of very valid inconsistencies that we missed.
Yes, whomever you are, you are very welcome to join us.
Well, bless you and your hard work, masked stranger. So there you go. That is Rise of the Fantastic Four. That was a lot of fun. I don't know if there's a novelization for the Josh Trank one. I don't think there is.
I looked a little while ago, no.
I might have to write one at some point. Speaking of which, we're getting towards the end of the year, so we'll need to start planning our novelization writing challenge for Christmas. I've got a couple of ideas for books, like maybe Sneezing Panda, the movie.
Sneezing Panda?
Yeah, the Baby Sneezing Panda, the movie, based on the very famous 3-second GIF.
Oh, okay.
Whole movie. Or what about Ricky Lake's Murder, She Purred?
Who's Ricky Lake?
Ricky Lake had a actress, but she had a talk show, an afternoon sort of rubbishy Jerry Springer-y kind of, not as bad as Jerry Springer, but that sort of style show. And she plays a detective with a cat, or the cat's a detective, I don't know.
Okay.
Murder, She Purred. We'll find something. Put your suggestions in the Facebook group. Definitely come and join us on Facebook. If you're searching groups for The Book Was Better, FP Cast, Scarjo A Go-Go discussion, you can come and talk to us about all these things. If you're local, we also sometimes go out and do things like quiz nights. We've got one coming up. You can support us on Patreon if you are a fan who really wants to go the extra mile and get some bonus content. And you can always find out everything we're doing at fruitlesspursuits.com. Scarjo A Go-Go is coming back really soon. It's like this week, next week. I'm working on it. I've started my notes. I'm going to do Age of Ultron. But there's a lot for me to really sort of mull over there and get my head around.
And I should finish my Fantastic Four script because, let's face it, it's going to be way better than any of the other movies.
Yeah, so look, we got through it despite I'm still recovering from sickness. Yeah. My voice is a little bit all over the place. And you managed to get through?
Yes.
With your...
Yeah,
your deep voice.
My deep manly voice. It didn't break all that much. I got through it quite well. So yeah, in case you weren't aware, I am transgender, female to male. So I'm going through the right puberty this time. That's fun. We also did a photo shoot today, so I had to shave my face and my legs. Weird combination.
Yeah, and there was no pressure for you to talk about this. It's obviously no one's business, but we're very sort of tight group with our community. You're someone who has been on this show for a very long time.
Dare we say the best co-host?
We could say that. And yeah, I'll probably notice those changes. I'm certainly noticing a lot of changes. Definitely deeper than me already.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the thing, I don't really hear it myself. I'm kind of aware. But yeah, I hope I sound like Tom Hiddleston or something. That would be great.
And I noticed we were talking about you on... It was on the Ghostbusters podcast.
Yeah.
And I think I said, like, she about 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
And I felt kind of, I felt a bit bad for that. But then it was like, well, there's no point of reference for our listeners.
Yeah, that's the thing. I heard it and went, well, I haven't actually come out, so now you can say he. And yeah,
And which will take me a little bit of getting used to be honest, like, just to get my head into that. Like when
it's totally fine.
When I'm talking to you, like, there's no need to specify one way or the other, obviously. It's more if I'm talking about you.
My family's the worst.
On the show. But, no, I definitely see the change and feel very positively about that. That's wonderful. I'm really proud of you. I'm really great to see... your confidence and everything, and look,
I do feel more confident. Do I?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
I'm more comfortable.
Yes.
It fits, and we're still going to do shoots if anyone is interested. In that. We shot today. We continued the Doctor Who series today.
Yeah, I mean, because when I start something, I finish it.
That's right.
and now I'll be even more androgynous.
Yeah, so we'll be able to sort of play around with that. So
so my voice is deepened, got facial hair already, losing my boobs, still got my hips. My hips don't lie, guys. So that's gonna take a little while longer. I'm also doing Captain America training. I found out what Chris Evans did to become Captain America and Winter Soldier, and I've been doing that, or working up to that routine. Holy shit, everything hurts, but started to get muscles.
I'm doing Chris Pratt training. It's Andy Dwyer training.
Oh, okay, yeah. How's that working out?
Yeah, pretty good.
I think it's pretty effective.
Pretty solid. Yeah, excellent. All right, well, good for you, dude. Thank you for sharing that with everybody.
Yeah. Share it with the class.
Sharing that with the class. You can sit down now. Back to your seat.
Thanks.
All right. Everybody concentrate. Oh, there's the bell. I'm just going to let everybody go.
Yeah, the bell. You cannot stop these kids. It's unstoppable.
You going to say the thing?
Which one to catch you on the flips?
Zathura.